All right, welcome back, and thanks again for covering Wake Forest football. So we got a lot going on this week, but obviously this Saturday marks the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and as you guys know, that's a very personal day for me and many other Americans. 20 years ago, I was the head coach at Fordham. My sister worked in the second tower and fortunately survived. A player I coached at Fordham, Nick Brandemarty, did not. And every 9/11, I certainly think of him and the impact that he had on so many lives and how much we still miss him. So again, just letting all the people at Fordham know that they're always in my thoughts and prayers, and that football team, what we went through together that year, will always have great meaning to me. And just want to thank everybody who protects our country. I know we have a lot planned this weekend for military appreciation. Again, it's hard to believe it's 20 years. So, I mean, for so many of our players now, we're at a stage that they weren't even born when this happened, which, it seems such part of our recent history, and to them it's a distant history. So, turning it to football, Old Dominion, we're 1-0, and in the world of college football, that's always a good thing. We're certainly proud of Jasheen for his co-rookie of the week award, and Jasir for his special teams player of the week award. A lot of positives came out of the game. I thought our special teams, clearly we won that battle. The kickoff return, we did a great job on kick coverage, pinning them inside the 20 twice. That was a positive. We had a punt partially blocked that we got very fortunate on. But overall, I thought we played well on special teams. I thought the defense played really well. We got aligned. We didn't cut things loose. We gave up one explosive play of 30 yards on a misfit. I thought we covered them fairly well, and got to get a little more stout against the run. But I think overall it was a good game one performance. Offensively, it was uneven. We made explosive plays. It was good to see all those receivers get involved. Torian Perry and Jacory with another touchdown, and Keyshawn. Donald Stewart had a great catch on a third down. So there was a lot of positives there. I'm disappointed we didn't run the ball a little bit more consistently. Clearly the short yardage plays were an issue. I think we were 0 for 3 on fourth downs, and we want to be aggressive on those things. And the one was at the end of the game, but the other two were at critical times in the game. And that was a situation a year ago we were very good at, and didn't execute in that situation. But the positive was on defense, we got a huge stop on a fourth down. And again, I thought it was a very uneven game one performance. I think the game was closer than the score indicated. And by that I mean, if you look at the stats, if you outgain a team by 80 yards, you don't think you're going to beat them by 32 points. Now, part of that is when you have a kickoff return for a touchdown and you have 2 picks that give you a short field, it's a little bit like the bowl game last year against Wisconsin, right? We outgained them, but part of the reason we outgained them is they never had long to go. So that was just kind of the way the game played out. But I think Old Dominion was physical. They look like a team that hadn't played in 2 years. But I think Coach Ronnie's a very good coach. They were physical up front. They've got good skill. Again, I don't think the score was indicative of the level of play overall for the game. We just, game ones are mistake games, and we made a lot less mistakes than them. So hopefully we can continue that trend. But usually those are things that get cleaned up as you get into week 2, 3, 4, and down the season. To me, one of the biggest positives of the week was how many students we had there. I believe we had between 3,400 and 3,500 students. And if you think of the size of the Wake Forest undergraduate student body, I would guess that we had the highest percentage of undergrads at our game than any school in the country. And to the students who showed up, thank you. I'll just stay. So, we're going to have games here that we need you there in the second half. But the crowd that was there, and they were alive, and they brought energy, and it just, you could feel it was really different. So this week we play an FCS opponent, Norfolk State. Just the way the schedule worked out, our first two games are against two schools in the exact same city in Virginia, who both have new head coaches who both didn't play last year. So I would bet in some trivia question, we're probably the only school that has ever done that. As you guys know, I coached FCS football for a number of years. The previous head coach there was a guy named Latrell Scott, who's a good friend of mine. Latrell worked with me at Richmond and at Tennessee. And, I think he did a very good job recruiting. The quarterback, Carter, is probably the best quarterback in the MEAC. He was Greg Dortch's, I believe, high school quarterback. Went to the same high school as Greg Dortch, Highland Springs. And he's a 4-year starter, very athletic. They got some good-looking receivers. They're big up front. And defensively, they're very experienced. They got some guys that can play. So, we have a lot to clean up from a week ago. There's things that always show up on the film that, maybe you don't see on TV if you're watching the game live. But we need to play better. We need to improve, and we got to focus on us. Anytime you play a team with scholarship athletes, they have guys that can make plays. So we have to show up ready to go. And, again, we're excited to be back at home. So I'll open it up for questions.
With the short yardage stuff, how much of it, I know this is one of your key phrases, is how much of it is what are we doing and how much of it is who are we doing it with that you look at?
I think a lot of it was who we were doing it with. There were seams there. And, last year, Kenneth Walker had that role. And early in the year, Kenneth Walker would maybe bounce things or do things and get away with it or not get away with it. And eventually he learned just to trust it and hammer it. And, Christian is new to that role. And I think you get out there 4th and 1 or 4th and goal on the 6-inch line. And, anytime in football you're going to predetermine what you're going to do, it's not going to work out. So the play before, when we ran it, if he just stays on his track, he's going to walk into the end zone. And then on the 4th and goal on the 6-inch line, he tried to launch from the 3-yard line. And if you notice in the second half, he just kept his pads low and churned his legs, and he scored. So I'm hoping that becomes one of those teachable moments. If you don't score from the 6-inch line, there's a good chance at some point that's going to cost you a game. Now, the second play, we didn't block it well, but the first play that we ran down there on the 3rd down play, that thing, he could have walked in, but he predetermined the cut. And, you can't do that on 1st down, you can't do it on 2nd down, and you can't suddenly change your reads on a 4th and 1 and predetermine where you're going to go. That's not the way that the play's blocked. So he'll get better at it. Again, it was the first time that he'd done it in a game. I thought he did a good job with it in practice. You guys were there, and that stuff was fairly successful against our defense. We got to get better at it. We got to get more reps at it, and I have confidence he'll get better at it.
That's a package that, like you were talking about with tennis, and halfway through the 2019 season when it was installed, it seemed to be a good installation. Is it just having faith that this has worked here in the past and we don't need to scrap it after one game?
Yeah, there's we had a lot of plays we didn't execute well, Connor. Now, anytime you go for it 4th and 1, there's going to be a greater emphasis on those plays. But, I didn't leave that game on Friday night feeling like, boy, we really executed on offense. I thought it was very uneven. we made some big plays in the pass game. Obviously, the post to a Torian was a huge play. But it just never, that to me was a very uneven offensive performance. I don't think any offensive player, offensive coach, or myself as the head coach went back and said, man, that was clean. We really felt good about it. And, the short yardage, those were big plays, but there were other third downs. There were first downs that we didn't execute. It was game one. It was an opener, and we played a lot of guys for the first time. We played, I believe it was 48 players over 15 snaps. And that wasn't just end time. These were guys that got meaningful snaps when the game, was still competitive. And a lot of those guys were playing football for the first time, and they'll tell you they were nervous. There was a lot of anxiety by a lot of players going into that game. And, it's good to have an opener that if you don't play your very best football, you can still find a way to win. And I know there's two arguments with that, hey, you play a better team and you get tested. I'd rather play our more meaningful games after we've played a game or two. And at the end of the year, they all count as one. So we didn't play our best game on offense. But we still found a way to win and make plays, and we got film to coach off of.
We could take anything from the fact that this was the second quarter.
No, it was just we told Mitch that he'd be going in, and this week it might be Kern. So, both those guys are right there. And last year when they got in, we kind of alternated them, and, Kern had a little rib bruise. And missed a day or two of practice last week. So we were going to try to get through that game and not play him.
Do you expect to have a little bit more offensive line depth ready for this game? I know Terrence Davis was out and CJ.
Yeah, I think we'll have Terrence back for either Florida State or Virginia. I expect to have CJ Elmanis back this week. Even Nick Sharp was out. I expect to have him back. Zion Keith will be able to play this week. Rondell is not he's not suspended for the first half. So yes, we should have more O-line depth. We should have more secondary depth. So yeah, we came out of it in pretty good shape, and hopefully get some guys back.
Coach, John Johnson with WXII. You mentioned this is the second week where you're facing an opponent that hasn't played in 2 years.
Well, they played last week against Toledo. They've played one game.
So you have that fresh set of game plan or film to go off of. But is there enough in that to find, tendencies and trends within your opponent? And then secondly, is this more of a focus on what you guys can correct after week one?
Well, you'd like to say, in football, there's always a focus on what we correct. Good football teams believe it's what they do. It's not who the opponent is. Obviously, the better the opponent, the less the margin of error. But Coach Odoms, he's been a head coach for 10 years. He was very successful at Southern. He has brought his defensive system from Southern with him. If you had played Wake Forest in your opening game and studied Bowling Green film, that's what you would study, because we had the same offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. He's brought his defensive system from Southern. He promoted a guy that was on the Norfolk staff to offensive coordinator. So they're running some Southern concepts, but also some concepts they ran a year ago when Coach Scott was the head coach. So there's a little bit more information that we have on these guys just because there's one game film. And then when you see concepts, you can go back and say, okay, that's from Southern, that's from Norfolk. This is a combination of both.
You mentioned trying to wanting to maybe see the run defense kind of step forward. Was it anything specific, the way things were fitting? Because they were obviously running an offense that was going to wear defense down with just the amount that they were running again.
Yeah, I think part of their strategy was, you play up a level and you want to shorten the game and run the ball, and they weren't playing fast. And we did some different things defensively, and they kind of found a rhythm a little bit with one particular play, And then we adjusted to it, and then as the game went on, that play was no longer effective. So they had the one drive that they hit a few runs, and it kept hitting the same gap. And the way they were blocking it and the way we were playing the front, we were a little bit unsound. And so we made some adjustments to that, and that's a problem that now shows up on film that I'm sure we're going to see again, and we've got to have a quicker answer to it.
I guess going off that with JD, you mentioned him getting co-rookie player of the week. Were you, I don't want to say surprised, but just kind of the way that he was able to handle that moment and have a good game? Like, what was your reaction to seeing that?
Well, he made a lot of plays. He also had a lot of assignment busts. Would you expect on a game one? Sometimes a receiver can catch 2 touchdowns, but they don't grade out well because so he's going to make plays. I think it was great that he got out there and had success and made plays, but he also had some busts. There's times that maybe some of the things that we gave up were because he wasn't in the right gap. And that's going to happen with a game one. And so it's great that he had success. Hopefully he has some confidence. But he, like everybody, there's things he has to clean up. It's different when the score counts and the lights are on, and it's different. And again, he handled himself really well, but he'll tell you, he played far from a clean game.
Dave, I found it fascinating to see Malik Mustafa play 19 snaps and make some plays in the game. But I'll be darned if I really remember him practicing at all during fall camp. He was continuously in the pit.
Yeah.
He must be really high on what he can bring his team to put him out there like that.
Oh yeah, we think he's going to be a really, really good player. And he had missed part of camp with a hamstring, and that probably affected how much he played on defense. But as soon as we found out he was healthy, we certainly were going to get him on kickoff, and then late in the game there, we got him some defensive snaps. He did not have the preparation because of missing practice time that we would like, but we'll get that caught up now, and he'll get more ready this week and more ready the week after that. He's going to be, I think, a very good player here. And that's one of the things I'm excited about is just our safety depth. That I thought Kobe Davis looked good. I thought J.J. Roberts played well. Chalon Garnes, I think, is going to be a really good player. Trey Red is certainly solid. It was great to have Nasir back. Evan Slocum, for his first game, played well. So we've never had names like this that we could roll in there and keep fresh and have on special teams, and we know we're going to need them. That position has been our Achilles heel here in terms of not finishing years strong. We have always got thin at corner and safety. I think that position and receiver are probably the ones that always seem that catches up with us. So, we are making a concerted effort to play a lot of guys early in the year, get them experience, get them playing time, and hopefully that does 2 things. One, the more guys we play, we can keep guys fresh and healthy, and then if we do have injuries, we're not putting people in there that haven't played meaningful reps.
If you could put your mindset in the mind of a second-year player like Jasheen or Keyshawn, where last year they played in front of maybe a couple thousand fans, and all of a sudden they're out there in larger roles and they're in front of 25 to 30,000. Kind of along the lines of what Ethan was saying, did they impress you in the way that they were able to handle that?
Yeah, but they played like young guys that never played before. We were taking the field, and I'm not going to say who it was, but one of our younger players who haven't played much, and we're about to take the field, and we're behind the gates, and he's hyperventilating. Like, you okay? Yeah. And that's, the good thing is when they feel like that, that means they care. They want to do well. That's normal, but now that they've played a game, okay, this is what it's like, and there'll be better game 2. And that was, just kind of the risk we were going to take, is we just said, hey, if we're going to get better as a program, we've got to play more guys. And, you saw the second series, Gavin Holmes was out there. DJ Taylor was out there. Chase Jones. And, our best players are in a rotation. So we have made a decision that we're going to try to play more guys and try to keep our team healthy and fresh and involve more of the roster. And that, I think is for 3 reasons. I think number one, we have more guys who deserve to play. Every year we talk about who's above the line, and we have way more than ever before. Number two, the super seniors give us a little bit more of that. And I really think going through last year has made guys more motivated. Last year, they didn't have anything other than football. That was the only thing they had to look forward to. And I just felt that football became more important to a lot of our players. And now that there are fans and they can do other things and they are going to class, we've kind of held on to that they've made football really important.
Coach, I believe Sam moved to 7th all-time passing this year at Wake. I know you mentioned offense leaving some stuff on the board, but what's made him so successful, under in your system, and in general, what makes a quarterback so successful under you?
Well, I got to give most of the credit to Warren Ruggiero. I mean, Warren's the one that coaches them every day and works with them and develops them. And, a lot of it starts in recruiting. You recruit guys that have the right makeup, that fit our offensive system, that can be coached hard, and that are committed to football and their teammates. And Sam has all those qualities. He's got the physical skills. He's got a very strong arm. He's become much more athletic, stronger. He's put weight on. Everything we've asked him to do physically, he's done. And he takes playing the position of quarterback very seriously. He works really hard at it. And I think his teammates see that. And, he's gotten better every year. But, part of being on those lists is having the opportunity to play early. So if we don't have what happened in 18, he's probably not on that list. So I think when you get on those lists, it's number one, you're good, but number two, you also had opportunity early, which he had, which I think is why he is where he is, that he got to play before he was ready, and because he played before he was ready, he understands what it takes to get ready.
Anything else, guys?
You mentioned the guy kind of being borderline hyperventilating before the game. Do you run into that a lot at the beginning of a season with younger players? Is that few and far between?
I run into that. I mean, it's, we work all year for this. I mean, the amount of work and time that we put in, and you get to play 12 games. And the opener is always, what's going to happen? Have you covered this? Have you covered that? What are they going to be like when they're playing for the first time? I mean, the night before an opener, I mean, I'm a bundle of nerves. But it's an awesome feeling. And when you don't have that feeling, you should stop playing and stop coaching. I mean, it's like you hate it, but you love it. Because, like, the fact that you care and you have people that care so much about something that they're nervous about it and they want to do well, I think that's a great thing. So the next year that, if I ever show up for an opening game and I don't have the butterflies, at the end of the year I should probably call it quits. And so I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think learning to deal with it. And now we get into a little bit of a cycle, right? Now it's, we got to do this Monday, you do this Tuesday, you do this Wednesday. There's a cycle and a routine, and I think that's how you help calm nerves, because if you're prepared and you've put your work in and you've followed your routine, you give yourself a much better chance to have success. It doesn't guarantee it, but at least you've given yourself the best opportunity. Do you guys get nervous covering games or not really?
I mean, I get some deadline juice for sure.
Connor, Connor.
I'll be honest. Sometimes the game goes by in 3.5 hours, and I will not remember a single thing. You can solve this. It's in the play-by-play, and it's in the tweets, and it's in the story, but I don't know what happened.
In the press box, there's only Coke and Sprite, right?
I haven't had a soda since 2014. I'll drink over.
All right, thanks, guys.